Good morning, everyone. I am live here this morning with my friend Brian. I feel like I can call you my friend Brian because we've done a lot together on YouTube. How are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing just great. I have a big day planned for this morning after this live stream. I've got this going on. I've got a surprise video project. I'm collaborating with some other carnivores on a recipe. So I'm going to be working on that later today. And then I have a friend who I will not name because that would not be nice. And she has been eating a lot more meat because of, I think, my influence. And she just got her cholesterol test back and now she's nervous. And so I offered to go over later today and look at that with her and talk to her about that. So that's what I've got going on today. But what's cool is eating a carnivore diet, I have energy to do all of that. And I'm actually looking forward to it. Whereas in the past, I would have been like, nope, I think I'm just going to go take a nap.
Yeah,
Am I right?
yeah, definitely. That's how I was before carnivore. I was always just laying around. So,
Yeah. So if people don't know you yet, how did you find carnivore? I think we've been carnivore about the same amount of time ish.
okay. Yeah. So how long of a story do you want here? Like the
Oh,
abbreviated
just a
version?
quick version. This is a quick version because I'm really
Okay.
excited to hear about how it's kind of changing recently. And we'll get into that after you kind of tell
Okay.
people how you got here in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just really quickly, I been overweight most of my life. In 2017, I did a certain type of diet that I lost a lot of weight, but it wasn't very sustainable. So I gained that weight back within a year. Um, Before I started gaining most of that weight back, though, I developed something called AFib, which is where your heart starts to race in intermittent beating, really fast, then slows down a little bit and really fast and so forth. Excuse me. And so I had some different health issues there. I was pretty much overweight and was just looking for something that would work for me. And I knew some people that were doing keto and they were having success. So I started doing keto in the spring of 2022. I did that for about 3 months as I did research on carnivore. And I decided that carnivore was probably the way for me to go. I did lose a few pounds with keto, but I didn't see any help with any of the issues that I was having health wise. So, like, I had a lot of joint pain, I had back pain sleeping at night, I had trouble sleeping more than a couple hours in bed, I had the AFib. That started actually in 2018. And I was at the point that I was having at least 2 to 3 episodes a week of AFib. So July of 2022, so almost 4 years ago, I started carnivore. And within the first couple of weeks, I was sleeping in bed pretty much all night without issues. The joint pain had pretty much gone away, especially by the first month. And also within those first couple of weeks, I noticed that I wasn't having the AFib episodes anymore. And it's now probably, I'd say, 2 months short of 4 years since the last episode I had of AFib. And my cardiologist has put me through different tests, heart monitors. I've worn them for a couple of weeks one time, another time I wore it for 30 days. The stress tests, different other tests that they've run and so forth. And there's been no sign of any AFib since then. So that's kind of how I found carnivore. And I have lost a good amount of weight, not quite as much as I lost in 2017. So I'm still not quite there, but it's been more sustainable this way. It's a slower paced weight loss for me. I did lose quite a bit quickly. I would say like 60 pounds or so in the first 3 months, 85 pounds in the first year. And it's been really slow since then. But I'm seeing more progress here more recently, like in the last month or so. So
Wow. Okay. I would like to get into some of that with you, but we have some people in the chat. So I'm going to say good morning to them. So, except for Yellow Rose, because it's good evening when they stopped in to say hello. But here we go. We have a good morning. And Jonathan, as always, look, this is downright wordy for Jonathan because usually you just get the emoji, but look, we got a supporting, a check mark, and a blue heart. So that is fabulous. Hello, Jonathan. Nice to see you. And already did that. Oh, it's because they're on both channels. So this is your
Yeah.
channel and then my channel. Rock on. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button on my channel or Brian's, go ahead and do that now, please. It really helps get the algorithm to kind of push this out to more people. So you said the word sustainable when talking about your carnivore diet in comparison to keto, and I feel the same way, but I wonder what makes carnivore feel more sustainable to you than the keto diet did? Because I do know people that are successful on keto. I'm just not one of them.
I think it really depends for keto for a person, right? And I'm the type of person that doesn't do well because when you look at keto, you're adding a few other things in. And anytime I add some other foods in, it tends to give me cravings and want to eat those foods. The other thing is you can get a little bit laxed if you're not paying attention with keto. And for instance, you can go to the store and there's so much marketed as keto friendly that really isn't if you don't pay attention to the ingredients list, right? Um, the one thing that I know they like to do in their marketing is net carbs, and you really can't look at it as net carbs. You got to look at the total carbs. But there also you got to look at some of the ingredients. There's a ton of different names for fake sugars, and those can really cause cravings. So for me, that didn't work well because then I would start eating something I shouldn't. Even with carnivore, if I'm not very clean with it, if there's something here because the other people in the house don't eat carnivore and I eat something just to have a taste of it, it brings all the cravings back, right? And I just want to eat that food. So for me, it's best to kind of do the approach that an alcoholic would do if they're trying not to drink, and that is that they don't drink any alcohol. So I stay completely away from eating those types of foods, and I just seem to do better with that.
As long as you're staying consistent and not going near those kind of foods, is it easy to say no to those foods that would otherwise tempt you once you've taken a bite? Or how long does it take for that switch to flip from the craving because you ate something to like feeling back to, calm about it and not craving it anymore?
That switch, that's an interesting one. If I eat something I shouldn't, it can easily take me a week or two to get away from those cravings. As long as I'm not eating anything like that, I do pretty well. Um, I will say that there are times that there are certain foods at the house that I get tempted, and sometimes I'll be like, I know it's not going to even taste good, but I just want it, you know.
Mm.
And sometimes I'll eat that piece of food, whatever it is, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that didn't taste good. But one thing I can say is I've found something that I think really takes that temptation away. And perfect example is right now, my wife is out of town with my son, so I'm home alone. And typically in the past, when I'm home alone, if there's something sitting there and I just see it and I see it over and over again for like 2 to 3 days, eventually I'm like, I'm going to eat it. I see it and I'm like, I really want to eat that, but I'm going to stay away from it. But I really want to eat that. And then 2, 3 days later, I eat it.
Mm.
Right now, I see it and I'm like, yeah, that isn't even interesting me. And for me, the difference has been consistently doing a about a 72-hour fast every week and I've added fermented foods into my diet. And those two things seem to take away cravings. Also, I was kind of doing a little bit of the fast before where I was just eating some fermented foods, but not regularly. And now I eat it with every meal. And now that I do that, I tend to go the entire 72 hours or more without really even feeling any hunger pains. So
That is
those are what I
interesting. So, where did you get the idea for fermented foods? I know for me, I first heard about that from Dr. Sean O'Mara.
yeah,
And I didn't
that's who it
really get
was.
into it. If I'm gonna have if I am known to eat a pickle chip from time to time. However, the last time I bought them, I bought three. They're like these containers and they're fermented. I specifically go for the ones that are fermented, and all three sat in there till so far past their date that I was like, I'm not sure about them, and I never ate them and I threw them away. But I first heard about the fermented foods from him. What gave you the idea that that might be something beneficial?
Yeah, it was definitely Dr. Sean O'Mara.
Mm-hmm.
My whole motivation was just doing all the research that he has, looking at all that and seeing how all of his clients have been able to get rid of visceral fat following his protocols. And one of the protocols is the fermented foods. And part of that is, what it does for your cravings and so forth, because of how your gut reacts, with your brain and so forth. So that's the main reason that I went to it, because I look at myself and I'm like, okay, I'm almost 4 years now. Well, at the time I was like more like 3.5 years on the carnivore diet, and I've done really well. I've had a lot of good health improvements, and originally I lost a lot of weight, but for a while I've kind of stalled. And for me, I've always said it's not so much about the weight, because I think some of it is I've lost a little bit of fat, but I've gained muscle. So the weight kind of stays the same. But I still see a little bit of a belly fat that I need to get rid of. So I know that if I got that belly fat, I've probably got some visceral fat and so forth that I still need to get rid of. So that was my whole motivation with that, is to try and get rid of this remaining belly fat that I have. And um, I will say, I should explain a little bit with how I do it, because some people might hear this and think like, oh, I am just eating loads of fermented foods. And that's not necessarily true. The
Mm-hmm.
fermented foods are used almost like a garnish or a dip or whatever for your meat. And the idea is that there are millions and billions of these good, healthy bacteria in the fermented foods, and you only need a little bit to get that bacteria. And it kind of goes back to thinking of the way that we used to eat, our ancestors and so forth, where we didn't have the processing plants that kind of cleaned up our food and so forth. The same thing with our water, if you're buying bottled water or whatever, it's not the same as what they used to drink water out of a stream that had all of these microbes in them. So that's the idea is, so when somebody asks me like, well, why are you eating that? Because they didn't eat fermented foods long ago. Well, no, but they didn't need to, because they had the healthy bacteria in there. There might've been some bad bacteria too, obviously, but they had, the good healthy bacteria that you need, and that we're finding more and more research on that. Bacteria is a big thing in your body. So I do that, and I will have maybe 8 to 10 different fermented foods that I have just a little bit of, and I dip every bit of my steak or my ground beef or whatever it is I'm eating. Maybe it's eggs. One of the fermented foods I like to do is a good culture cottage cheese, and that works great with eggs. Pair it together. So you do that, and you just have a little bit, and it goes a long way. And like, some of those fermented foods, I will say they do have some carb to it. Some of the dairy ones, like kefir, however you want to say that. I'm trying to think. Yogurt, they tend to have a little bit of carb content to it. They might have 1 or 2 grams of carbs per serving, but I might be having a 1/4 of a serving in my meal. So it's a lot less than what somebody might think. So don't think that you go overboard on these fermented foods. Um, and so that's what I do. And it's not really a big amount, but it's enough, and it's really made a big difference, I think, in my gut health, but not just my gut health. I think that it also has me feeling better, happier, so forth. Um, and again, the cravings just seem to have gone away since I've done this.
That's interesting. Yeah, there is a gut brain connection. I mean, like, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I know that there's a gut brain connection. And when, if that balance is right, your mental health will tend to be better. So I'm glad that seems to work for you. For me, just removing the last of the keto friendly foods like the nuts, because obviously a lot of it overlaps, right? I ate a whole load of meat when I was doing keto, but I had some things in there like nuts and things that's what I would crave. Like, that's what I couldn't still control when I was eating those things. And just getting rid of those and going more carnivore, meaning I don't have any nuts or things like that anymore. It's just meat, eggs, occasional heavy cream. If I'm doing dairy, occasional cheese, but mostly meat and eggs. And, that took care of it for me. So that constant craving for, like, ooh, that thing's in the cupboard, because I'm like you, but not everyone in my house eats carnivore. So there's things in the refrigerator, freezer, and cupboards that I don't want to eat, but also now I don't want to eat. Like, the craving for them is gone, right? Like, I know they're bad for me, but also I don't crave for them anymore. So maybe that's why I haven't attempted to bring in the fermented foods, except for the occasional pickle, but it's been, I think, months now since I've had one. It's just when I don't know, just occasionally, I guess. If I was going to add another fermented food, it would be kimchi, because my grandfather was Korean. I'm not part Korean or anything, but he's my step grandfather. But he used to make like the flanken style ribs and so we would eat kimchi with that. And so I do have fond memories of kimchi. I've even looked at a few. It's really hard to find one without sugar. So I did find one, and then I never ended up buying it. But yeah, if I was going to add a fermented food that wasn't a pickle, it would probably be a little bit of kimchi. Okay, you said Dr. Sean O'Mara and the fermented foods and visceral fat. So my next question to you is, do you do the other thing he recommends that is very good at getting rid of visceral fat, which is some kind of sprinting?
Yes, but I do have to paraphrase that with my daughter got married at the beginning of May, and I haven't sprinted since about a week before her wedding. But I was for a bit there doing pretty good with like twice a week sprinting. And my sprinting is still doesn't really look like a sprint, but I'm 52
Yeah.
years old and I'm still a little overweight. So I'll eventually get there. But I kind of stopped like the week before the wedding because I was like, I don't want to hurt myself right before the wedding and then have to deal with that. And now just laziness, I guess, getting myself back to doing it. I haven't done a whole lot of exercising, which probably would help considerably if I would do that as well. So I do have to get back to doing it. But yes, I was doing the sprinting there for a while.
Okay, so I'm like you. When I sprint, if I do it consistently, it becomes a habit, right? And then I just get out there and do it. And then if I take a break for some reason, it is like this, it's harder to get back out there and just go do it. And then once I get back in the habit again, I do it. But yeah, my sprint is someone else's jog. That's like what I always say. But I think sprinting, even under his Dr. Omar's definition, it's not like sprinting like some Olympian, right? It's sprinting means your personal fastest, right? Whatever that looks like for you, that's considered a sprint. And then you're only chasing your own record, your own speed. You're just trying to improve on, what your personal best, I guess, would be. So you said that your daughter got married, and I know your other daughter is getting married soon. You got all the weddings going on. Going into that wedding in May, did you how did you handle the food situation? Did you go in just thinking like, well, I mean, it's my daughter's wedding. I'm gonna go ahead and eat the wedding cake, or like, how did that go with the food that was there?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I went into it saying I'm not going to touch any of that bad stuff. We're going to have plenty of stuff that I would eat. Um, so we had traditional Polish food, traditional Afghan food. Her husband is of Afghan descent. And then we had Chick-fil-A, which is what she wanted. So there were plenty of meat options. And my idea was the Polish food. My uncle made, I don't know how many pounds, a bunch of it, of kielbasa, which is a Polish sausage.
Mhm.
So it's made out of pork. He makes it with really good ingredients. I know how to make it and everything too. So it's a pretty clean. There's no sugar or anything like that in it. So it's a pretty clean food. And I was like, I'm gonna have a lot of that. Um, the Afghan food, there was chicken kebab and I believe ground beef kebab, which in the sense of kebab, it's not like on the actual skewer, right? So um, you can eat just the chicken or the ground beef without adding anything else to it, like rice or any sauces or anything like that. So I went into it saying that that's what I was going to do. And I did start out pretty good with that. We had the rehearsal dinner actually was catered from Olive Garden, and I think I had some shrimp and some sausage or something, and that was it. So I did pretty well there. But then the actual day of the wedding, um, I had some of those foods, and then I don't know. I got up to get a drink. I drank basically club soda all night, so I was good there, right? And I came back to my spot, and there was a piece of cake sitting there, and I said, "Well, you know what? I wasn't gonna do this, but I'll at least taste it. Why not? It's my daughter's wedding." I ended up eating the whole piece, and that kind of caused the whole thing that I said before to happen. And so we took the cake and some of the food that was remaining home, and we had cake at our house for like the next week. Obviously, my daughter, they took some of the cake and then we had some cake. So for like the next 4 to 5 days, I had a piece of cake with my meat every day until I was able to get myself to stop doing that.
Okay.
So even though I didn't want to do that stuff and I planned to stay clean, I did do that. And I think I had one little drink of alcohol the the night of the wedding to like the after party type thing. So it sounds crazy, but in that 4 to 5 days there, I gained 8 pounds.
Man.
Um, yeah, excuse me. So
And a lot of that's got to be inflammation, but still.
yeah, yeah, I would think a lot of water weight and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but it's not like I just lost 8 pounds over the next week though. That
Right.
and that's what's always got me. Anytime that I've done something crazy like that and I've gained weight, I can gain weight in like 2 to 3 days, but then it takes like a month to lose that weight usually. And it's
Yes.
like, oh. So anyway, I got pretty strict at that point, and I've done pretty well. As of this morning, I'm down 14 pounds. So it's a total net of 6 pounds when you factor in the 8 pounds I had lost. So right now, I'm basically 3 weeks. This is exactly 3 weeks from the wedding, and or no, 3 weeks from getting back on track, I guess, from the wedding. And I am a net of 6 pounds less than what I was before the wedding. So that is a plus. The other thing that I've noticed, and again, I talked about being stricter with doing the fasting and the fermented foods that I think make a big difference. But the other thing I've noticed is that my belly fat is shrinking. Definitely, I've noticed one size on my belt. I keep forgetting that I need to find my tape measure and actually measure my belly button circumference to see what kind of loss I've seen there. If there's been, maybe a half an inch or something, I don't know. But I have noticed that. So I've gotten back on track at least. It just didn't go quite as planned originally before the wedding. So,
So you mentioned your waist circumference. I'm just gonna put this out there. I told you before we went live that I just got my health coaching certification through Dr. Kiltz. So my little graduation, is Monday. But I've been working on some different tools to help people. When I started my YouTube channel 3 years ago or whatever, I had never even pushed record on a camera in my life, or on a phone or anything. Like I'd never hit the record button ever on anything in my life. If we were anywhere and there was recording happening, my husband would do it. So I taught myself like all of it, like all the skills, right? The thumbnail skills, the live streaming skills, the editing skills, all that stuff. And then I just kind of cruised along and was happy with the way, my skills were. And then I've gotten this health coaching certification. And let me tell you, Brian, this carnivore energy is crazy because here I am at 50 and I'm over here coding an app. So I'm teaching myself how to code an app. And one of the things that my app is going to do is help you, like you can put your measurements in and then it will like kind of help you keep track of them, because I would always just scribble them somewhere and then I'd lose it or whatever.
yeah.
If it's in my phone and it just kind of remembers and it will show, trends and things. So you just said that and it prompted me to remember. But yeah, it's pretty crazy when you go carnivore, the stuff you will try. You're like, well, just give it a shot instead of being afraid to try things. Before, it wouldn't have ever even occurred to me to even try to do anything like that. So that's amazing. Anyways, okay, so you have another wedding coming up. So what are your plans going in? Because I always think my plans going in are usually just stay the course to like any event that I'm going to. The last wedding I went to, it was, I'm going to stay the course. I beforehand definitely ate like a whole bunch of picanha. Like I filled myself up with picanha. I know he's laughing because my banner. By the way, I'm Lady Picanha. I filled myself up with, I don't even know, over a pound of picanha, but that was in the early afternoon. The wedding was far. You have to know my aunt, but she's like an avid tennis player. And so after the wedding, it was like at her tennis club. Like so after the wedding, everybody played pickleball. And so I went out and so we were there for hours. Then I played pickleball and then I was like starving, right? Because there was no food. The reason I did it was because I asked her what was going to be there. And there was like a bunch of options and none of it, everything that had meat, it was like stirred in to something else, like with the veggies and rice. It was mixed together. There was no like picking out that meat. There were no pieces of meat. And so that day I didn't eat anything while I was there, but by the end of it, I was starving and we definitely stopped at a McDonald's and I got myself some burger patties, just to get me through the drive home. So anyways, my question to you is, when you go to this other wedding, is it just going to be, it's my daughter's wedding, I'm celebrating today, or did you have such a rough experience this first time around that you're going to try to stick to your original thing, which is stay the carnivore course and not eat any cake and whatnot?
I want to stay the course. So the next wedding is in November. And the difference here is we're not doing our own food like we did for this previous wedding. At this particular place, they cater the food. And I'm not sure exactly what they're picking as the food. So I don't know what the options are going to be. So I do want to stay the course. I just don't know exactly what the options are going to be yet. So that's going to be interesting. But I will say this. I didn't mention this, but when I ate the cake for like 3 or 4 days in a row from this wedding, one thing I noticed was some of my fingers kind of were locking up, getting tight and hurting like in the joints. So that's something that I want to make sure I stay away from. That tends to motivate me even more than I gained 8 pounds type of thing, right? So hopefully I can take that kind of thing and motivate myself to not do bad. But it's hard when you have a daughter getting married to not be like, oh, I'm going to have a piece of cake or something. It's her wedding, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. The one good thing I will say is most of the time, I'm pretty good at catching myself after the fact pretty quickly before it just spirals out of control. Uh, there was a time, boy, I can't even remember how long ago this was, a few months, maybe, I don't know, was it this year or was it late last year? I can't remember. But again, my wife was out of town at this time and she had left a can of frosting on the counter. And for like a day, I avoided that can. But I did the whole thing I talked about earlier where I was like, oh, there's that can of frosting. I really want it, but I'm going to stay away from it. And eventually I said, okay, I'm going to take a swipe. So I had like a spoonful of it. And before I knew it, I just wanted to keep eating it. And like in a day and a half, I ate the entire can of frosting. But I really paid for it. Like I had the joint pain in my fingers, my back, my lower back, like got really painful. And for like 2 or 3 days, I was walking like this old man, like hunched over. Um, so I caught myself pretty quickly and did not continue down that rabbit hole that I could have, where I could have just started buying a bunch of junk food and started eating a bunch of junk food. So I tend to catch myself pretty quickly and not let myself spiral out of control. But I will say that eating a can of frosting is definitely not good because that was some of the worst backlash experience I've had with that back pain that I had. It was crazy.
You're like, oh yeah, now I remember. Now I remember. And I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
For me, I do get some little joint pains here and there. But the thing that gets me the most is not the weight either. It's the acne here and here. So I used to get these major, like under the skin, super big, deep, I don't know, cystic acne on both sides of my chin, like one side or the other, and that mostly has gone away. Like I've hardly had any, maybe one or two. But if I do, it's generally because I ate too much cheese. So I used to not be able to moderate cheese, when I was still eating, like I had mentioned, like the nuts and other things. I couldn't moderate cheese at that point in my journey either. And if I ate cheese for not one time, but a few days in a row, I don't know. I didn't count them. I'm not going to experiment, Brian, because I don't want a big pimple right here. Okay. Like how many days will it take before I get a giant pimple that doesn't go away for 3 months? Like I'm not going to do that. But it still happens. If I eat cheese too many days in a row, whatever that is. So now I know, okay, I can have it once or twice in a row. But the nice thing is, I can eat it occasionally and then be fine. So like, for example, I did a recipe recently. The reason I did it was because it was going to be Mother's Day. So this was intended to be something that I could take to my in-laws' house because we were going to go over there for Mother's Day. And it was a carnivore quiche. So it was like, of course, there's like eggs and cheese and sausage and whatever in there. And I made 2 versions of it. So one of those videos has come out if you're interested. The other one I'll be releasing later. But I made them both on the same day to, take down there. And the one had some like smoked Gouda cheese in it, which was really good. And I ate some of it the day that I made that for the recipe, so that was like right at Mother's Day. So how long ago has it been since Mother's Day? Like a couple of weeks. I don't know. And then I didn't have any cheese again until yesterday, like that whole time, because it's like I ate the quiche and then it was like, fine. I didn't crave for cheese. And I used to I'd go in the kitchen and be like, I think I'm gonna, cheese. And I would just go eat bites of cheese, because it's keto or whatever. Right. And so the reason I even ate cheese yesterday was because I didn't use all of that smoked Gouda, and it was like it was really good. It's like an A2 organic A2 smoked Gouda cheese. And I was hungry yesterday, and I had like a 3 or 2 hour meeting at school, and I knew it was just going to be like wah 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 wah, like the Charlie Brown teacher, wah 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 wah. And I was hungry, and I was like, there is no way I'm making it through that meeting without eating breakfast. And when I'm hungry now, I eat. So yeah, I made myself 3 scrambled eggs and butter, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I still got that. I got to eat up that. It was expensive and it's good cheese, so I'm like, I'll cut off a hunk of that smoked Gouda and eat it with my, eggs. And I did that yesterday. Now that cheese is still in there. Am I going to have some today? No. Like I don't want any if you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of cool being able to moderate that, but also knowing my limits. And it's that big zit right there or right there. And I'm like, not worth it. No, thank you. Because it's not just a couple of days, right? It's like 3 months of my life that I'm going to have that giant thing on my face.
Yeah.
Mike Shaw TV is here. My good friend Mike. He says, I cheated last Thanksgiving and it lasted until Valentine's. Oh my gosh, that's a long time. I regret it for sure. I had to climb back up that hill. I can't imagine climbing back up that hill from that far again, right? Like, so kudos to you, Mike, for being able to actually climb back up that hill. Brian, I think I know what your answer is going to be on this. However, Bacon Runner is saying, I ate at least 1 can of sardines every day for a full 6 months. He's smiling because he knows where I'm going already. And he's like, I know. Just started doing that again yesterday. I wonder how long I'll go this time. I don't only eat 1 can of sardines. So she has added sardines back in. I think we're in complete agreement on this, Brian. But what are your thoughts on sardines?
They really smell. So I tried them once or twice. I
Mm-hmm.
did them actually on a live stream.
Mm-hmm. Me
For
too.
those of you that know Greg,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and yeah, we did this live stream thing where we tried them for the first time, and they were okay tasting. Um, but the bad thing was I had like the leftover goo and so forth sitting in this enclosed room in the live stream for like an hour and a half, and that smell got really bad. So here's the thing though, and it's not just necessarily just sardines, it's just most things out there that aren't what I normally eat. Um I I don't really necessarily have a craving to eat those things because I just do well with eating the same things over and over again. And really I eat a lot of beef. Beef just tends to be best for me. I feel fuller with it for a longer period of time and so forth. So I will eat ground beef made into burger patties or steak. Most of the time, the steak will be New York loin that I get at Costco that I'll cut up into individual steaks. Occasionally, I will get ribeye, but usually that's more expensive, so I stay away from that. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
I'll eat mostly those things. I'll have a little bit of eggs here and there. Occasionally, I'll have a little bacon. Every once in a while, some chicken wings, and that's about it. Um, I just don't I don't tend to go out of my comfort zone, and I do the best when I'm in that comfort zone eating those foods. And it's funny because like my wife will be like, you're having ground beef burger patties again. This is like the eighth day in a row. Don't you ever get tired of that? And I'm like, no. And especially with the fasting now, like part of it is if I'm tired of it, I'm probably not hungry. So I just don't eat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if I do fast for, let's say, 72 hours or something like this week, I think I went like 76 or 77 hours. So it's a little bit longer than 3 days. But if I do that, by the time I'm done, I'm ready to eat. So that's what I've been doing. And really, since I've been doing more meat or more beef, I should say, over the last few months, I'm mostly just one meal a day again, where over 4 years, I've changed so many times. There were times I was eating twice a day. There were times that I was once a day. Then I went back to twice a day. But I always said to myself, I feel better when I'm eating beef. And when I eat beef, I tend to only eat once a day because it just keeps me full for a longer period of time.
Yeah, it's funny how similar you are. You pretty much just stated my diet almost exactly. And it's the same with beef and I never really get sick of it, but like yesterday I came home and I did have a ribeye and I either might we'll see how I feel because I just go by what I feel. If I get super hungry, I'll eat later. But I've had beef a few days in a row and then it's like, so then I'll either fast or I'll have like chicken thighs or something. Cause yeah, it doesn't satiate me, as much. If I eat beef, I'm like, good to go. This is cool. So Marissa says, Cristie, I'm a teacher too. If you don't know me out there, I'm a elementary school teacher and I teach 5th grade. So Marissa, I would like to know what grade you teach. But she says, my first meal is always at school. Same here. My first meal, except for like yesterday, I had that breakfast sheet. Marissa, it was an IEP meeting. It was a triennial IEP meeting, Marissa. So Marissa gets it. She knows what I'm talking about. It's a lot of psychologist reports and like all this kind of stuff. And they're just going on and on about bell curves and standard deviations and whatever. And so it's like, I did eat breakfast yesterday. That's kind of a rare thing. So usually my first meal is lunch at school. But hers is inevitably a can or two of sardines or mackerel or salmon, and lately with a bit of fermented veg. So there you go, Brian. You have a fellow fermented food person. When I take and then her secondary part of this comment is I eat alone. So when I do, it's very rare that I do any seafood. I do not like sardines and I have tried. Okay. Like Brian said, a couple times. The second time I ended up just giving them all away. I'm like, this is not worth, like, why am I choking down this food that I just really don't like? Like, there's no point in it for me. If other people like them, great. And if they work for you, great. And it's like more for you because I'm not going to eat them. But when I bring a can of tuna, I'll occasionally bring like a can of tuna or a can of salmon. And then I always apologize to everyone around me. Sorry, I know this is stinky. As soon as I open it, they're usually pretty gracious. My teacher bestie eats keto. And so she's like not offended by any of that stuff. And the other one is that we eat with our other teammate is, very nice. And see, I'm not lying. So 2nd grade in Northern California. Oof, that's a long meeting you had. It's not over, Marissa. There's a part 2. We only got through the psychologist report, the introductions, parent rights, psychologist report, and speech pathology report. That's it. We haven't even gotten to any of the rest of that IEP, which if you're not a teacher, you don't know what I'm talking about probably. And I'm not going to bore you with what the rest of that meeting will entail. But it's next Friday. So yeah. Lance is saying, I eat sardines at work all the time. Love a good can of sardines. Ooh, Mike Shaw says, I found a boneless leg of lamb at Sam's Club, $6.25 a pound. I know not everyone likes lamb, but it's mainly how I keep carnivore affordable. Okay, so Brian, you did not mention lamb. Do you like lamb or do you eat lamb at all?
I do, and I will occasionally have it. Kind of like Sam's Club. I go to Costco and sometimes they have it around that price.
Okay.
I think the last time I saw it like $6.99 a pound, so it was a little bit more. But yeah, I think the last time I had it was at least a month ago, maybe a little bit longer. I might have it once or twice a year, to be honest. So I don't have it that often, but it's pretty decent size. So even for me, when I make it, I'm probably the one that's eating most of it. So it's going to be several meals for me, like, at least 2 or 3. But yeah, lamb is good. I like it. I just don't eat it that often.
Yeah. I don't like it, so I don't eat it ever. I don't know. Maybe I need to try it again. Sometimes, your taste change or whatever. I've been carnivore a while now. Who knows? Maybe I would like it now.
I like to smoke it.
Okay.
So like over 6 hours or so, 6 to 8 hours. It's pretty good that way.
Yeah. Mike is saying it comes in 6-pound chunks. So recently, I think it was because, we just had Memorial Day. And so like some of the grocery stores have been having really good meat sales. And so I've gotten a bunch of ribeye lately. Like my freezer in my garage is full of ribeye. I have not seen, so it wasn't as low as when I first went carnivore. When I first went carnivore, which I guess was a little after you because it was 2023. It was like I went keto February of 23. And then I know by June I was carnivore. Since I accidentally went carnivore, though, I don't really have a start date. It was just like the vegetables look disgusting. I'm not eating them anymore. And then, then before you know it, here I am, 3.5 years later, whatever, 3 years later, carnivore. Anyways, ribeye used to go on sale for like $5.99 on a regular basis, but I haven't seen that in a while, and it never went on sale for like a couple years. It was never even on sale, so I stopped eating them. But the first time it went on sale, I saw it was $8.77, and I was like, well, that's a good price, and because I just hadn't seen it. It'd been like 15, forever. So I'm like, that's good. So I bought some just because I love a good ribeye. And then like the next week, I think it was the next week or 2 weeks later, it went on sale for $7.99. And I was like, well, I'm going back. And then it said limit two. It was like $7.99 up, like limit 2 packages. But the packages were family size ones. So there was like in the original ones that were $8.77, there were 3 steaks in a pack. And then there was 4 steaks in a pack. So I was like, cool, I just got 8 steaks. That's pretty awesome. And then my mom, who's like, meat-based keto eater, was like, I went back and they like didn't care. Like you have to show your card and stuff to get that price. And she's like, they didn't care. Like I bought more. And I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can buy more then. So I went in my app because what I like to do is order from the app. And then you just pull up and they just bring it to your car. It's like the most convenient thing ever. Like they shop it for you. They bring it out to your car. It doesn't cost anything extra. It's great. Anyway, so I go in my app and sure enough, it's just letting me put all the $7.99 ribeyes in my cart that I want, so I did that and got a few more pounds the last day of that sale. So I think I'm going to be eating ribeyes like all summer. So
Yes,
yay. I know, I'm super excited for that price. Super excited. So Lance is saying, try it, Cristie. I have always detested cottage cheese, and now I actually like the 4% fat cottage cheese. Your body changes on this way of eating. Yes, the lamb. I should try it. I've never liked cottage cheese. I've always been meh about cottage cheese because I used to eat cottage cheese, not the 4% stuff. The non-fat stuff that they would say, like, eat this cottage cheese to be on a diet, the fat-free kind, back in the day. So I ate a lot of that. I ate a lot of that when I was doing my calorie counting, like fat makes you fat phase, a lot. So it's not that I wouldn't eat it now. In fact, I probably would enjoy it. I don't know. It's kind of like what Brian was saying about you. I just kind of eat the same things and I don't get bored of it. But I think, it would be good to try some lamb again. Maybe I'll like it. You know what I'll do? I'm meeting up with my mom and my aunt at a Brazilian steakhouse in another week. I think next Saturday maybe. And they have lamb there. So that way I don't have to spend any extra money. We're already doing the all you can eat deal. And I'll just, when the lamb comes by, I won't say no. I'll say, put some on my plate. And we'll see what happens.
There you go.
Yeah. So Karen got a new computer. Karen, I'm jealous. My computer is the same computer that I've had since 2020. The reason I have this computer is because we went to distance learning in 2020. We all know why. And they sent us home with like a Chromebook, like a crappy Chromebook. Like, I don't know the specs, but like a Chromebook with no working memory. Okay. And then we're having to teach online. So our platform was not Zoom, but it was Google Meet. So we're having to be on this Google Meet, which is taking up like apparently all of the memory that this thing could muster, because then we have to teach online. Like we're not just sitting here like I'm right now, streaming to them or whatever. We're like bringing up Google Slides and, videos for them to, and all this stuff. And it would just freeze and nothing would work. And so I purchased this Chromebook with my own money at that point, just to be able to do my job, because we weren't provided with what we actually needed to do it. But hey, I'm getting a second life out of it with my YouTube channel. So I can't hate it too much.
There you go.
Okay. So you mentioned fasting a few times. Talk about that. Like, you've talked about getting through 72 hours and it's easy. Tell me more about that. Was it always easy-ish for you to fast? Did you struggle before?
It wasn't as easy as it is now. I'll say that much.
Okay.
When I first started to do some fasting. I was kind of doing some 48-hour fasts. And right around the 24-hour mark, I would get really hungry. So it would be kind of tough to get through that. And I kind of learned that the best thing was before I started my fast was to eat in the evening, so that that 24-hour mark was kind of in the evening and I could last a little bit and then go to bed.
Mm,
And then when I woke up the next morning, it was usually better.
okay.
Um, and I would deal with some fat or, some hunger, but nothing really, really bad. So a couple times I went to 72 hours and it was kind of the same thing. That 24-hour period was usually the worst, the most hunger. And then I would kind of have more issues, but not really bad issues necessarily. But the first few times I did 72 hours, um, I kind of found myself maybe a little feeling a little more like lethargic towards getting closer to 72 hours. And I think it was because I wasn't um, getting enough like salt, sodium, that kind of
Mm,
thing. So I started making sure that I would, when I woke up in the morning, I was taking a pinch of salt and then drinking it down with the water. And that seemed to help a little bit. But what's really seemed to work well for me is this last couple of months, the fasting. Um, I can't even say that that 24-hour mark is that bad anymore for me. And again, I contribute that to the difference in hunger cravings with the being more consistent with the fermented foods, because I kind of, the first time I introduced fermented foods was last summer, like June, July timeframe, which that was also the last time I was sick. But I got sick. I had like a cold, and I was the guy that was like, I don't get sick that often, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then I would go out on the weekends and be outside all day working. Like maybe I cut down a tree or something in the backyard. And for like 8 hours, I was just working, doing pretty intense activity, not really exercise, but activity, right? And I did that like a few weekends in a row and I would get run down. And then by the next weekend, I started feeling a little bit better, but then I would do that again and I would be run down. So I finally went to the doctor and it turned out I had, I think it was bronchitis
mm.
and maybe something else. I can't remember, but they said it was bacterial and they put me on an antibiotic. That was the worst thing I could have done. I took the antibiotic for like, I don't know, a day and a half or something like that. And I had bad bathroom problems. My foot started to swell up. My fingers were swelling, getting locked up. Um, Things just were really bad. And I looked up that medication and found that it destroys your gut bacteria. Um, and it destroyed, and that particular medication actually killed off the bacteria that helps your body deal with oxalates. Now, I hadn't really ate very
Oh,
much in the way of oxalates in a few years, but I've also heard people say that you can get oxalate dumping years later. And I think I wasn't necessarily getting dumping because I had that gut bacteria that was eating whatever oxalate was still left in my body. But then when that died off, the remaining oxalates just tried to dump out of me. So I said, okay, my gut's messed up. And I started doing research on that. And one of the best things was fermented foods. And that's when I was already paying attention to Dr. Sean O'Mara. So I started adding a little bit of fermented foods at that point here and there. And that was in the summer. In the fall, I got a little bit better at it, but still, it wasn't all the time. It wasn't really until the last couple months that I really got into doing the fermented foods. Um, and I've been talking for so long, I can't remember my original point, I think it was about the fermented foods.
I was asking about fasting and like how you kind of went from
Oh
being
yeah, yeah.
difficult to fast, and
Okay.
then now you're saying 72 hours is kind of easy to fast.
Yes. So now over the last couple of months that I've been more consistent with it in eating fermented foods in every meal. And again, I should say, when I just say fermented foods, sometimes people think I've got this big bowl of fermented foods or something. It's just a little bit that's dipped with my meat. It's not as much as you think. But since I've done that with every meal, I now um just the cravings just aren't as bad and the fasting goes much easier for me. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
No, you're fine. And my son came in. He's putting away the groceries that were delivered to the porch, and he asked me a question, and then I was trying to answer Dustin. I'll just verbally say what I was typing. So yeah, he was just saying I'm not feeling well, so I'm dropping in to say hello and doze off. I was just saying sorry you're under the weather is what I was going to say. So have a good nap and get well soon, Dustin. Okay, so before we wrap up here, I know, or because I watched your video about it, but you're talking about how expensive weddings are. Yeah, no joke. And you got two daughters, and they're both getting married in the same year. And that with some other, financial situations going on. You were talking about in this video how you're going to be kind of streamlining your carnivore to be less expensive to keep it sustainable for
Mhm.
you as you're paying for the different weddings and other things you have going on in your life. I know for
Yeah.
me, a big thing is when that meat's on sale, I stock up. I love that I have a freezer out in my garage. And when it goes on sale, man, I just buy more than I could ever use in that week, for enough to last me a couple of months or something. And that's kind of how I do it. But what do you have planned to help you save some money on meat coming up here?
Yeah. So the first thing is there was a sale recently at this giant grocery store that's by our house for $3.99 a pound for ground beef, which is the cheapest I've seen it in years. And I stocked up quite a bit on that. Um, Typically, I can find at another grocery store called Wegmans, I can find $4.99 a pound for ground beef. It's 80/20
Okay.
ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been getting a lot of that. So what I was doing before was a lot of steak, mostly New York, because it was a little bit cheaper, but a lot of steak and then a little bit of ground beef with it. Um, the steak I get at Costco for $11.99 a pound, and I cut up my own steaks. So that's not bad price, but still it's $11.99 a pound. If I get ground beef for $3.99 or $4.99 a pound, that's like half the price. So my plan now is that I'll have just a little bit of steak. So I did buy a slab that I cut up and I got like, I don't know, 11 or 12 steaks out of it. And that will be just every once in a while, kind of like a treat type of thing. And I'm going with the ground beef. And literally, like, I was probably spending, I don't know, about $100 a month, or no, I'm sorry, a week on my
Okay.
groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this kind of puts it in half, and it's more like $50 a week. So we're 200 to 250 a month for me. Um, so that's a huge savings. That's like at least $200 a month that I'm saving right there. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do that. I'm going to eat a lot of ground beef, probably add a little more eggs than what I was because eggs can be pretty cheap. Um, I know, you can look at just regular eggs or cage free, pasture raised, whatever, and there's going to be differences in prices. But I can get eggs right now at the Aldi store by us for like $1.40 for a dozen eggs. So that's kind of hard to beat that.
Yep.
So a lot of ground beef, decent amount of eggs, and occasionally I'll have a steak. Like when I just broke my fast at 76 hours here or whatever it was this last time, um, I ate a steak. Now I did have eggs first because I didn't just go straight into a steak. So I had 3 scrambled eggs. And then like a half hour later, I ate the steak. And that's the other thing I should say that I didn't mention before with doing the fermented foods. Before, when I'd break my fast, I'd have a little bit of bathroom loose stool issues for a few hours afterwards.
Okay.
In the last 3 weeks, there's been no problem at all. I've had
Okay.
no loose stools. So anyway, that's my plan. It's going to save me at least a few $100 a month just doing
Mm-hmm.
that. And if my budget isn't quite as tighter, I will get a little bit more steak again because I love eating steak. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I love eating steak too, and I didn't eat much of it for, like I said, for a really long time, just because there just weren't any sales. It's nice to see, this barbecue season coming in. So what I'm hoping is, so usually barbecue season is, starts in Memorial Day, we all know. And then the next sale I'm anticipating probably will be around 4th of July. And then usually there's another, if there's going to be one, it'll be like at the end of summer, which makes me sad. So I don't want to think about it because that means back to school. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about 10 days till summer vacation over here. But anyways, at the end of summer, there's usually another big meat sale. And so I'm hoping to kind of like fill up my fridge, my freezer, over summer, and then maybe not have to buy too much meat the rest of the year when I retire from teaching, because my hope is to do it at 55, which means, unfortunately, that my paycheck will be cut about in half. So in California, Marissa knows, in California, it's a big formula. Like, it's based on your years of experience, but also your age. So even though at 55, I will have 31, you heard me, 31 years of experience, I'm not old enough to get the higher level of like retirement, income. So one of the things that I will do at that point, not only will my house be paid off because I made that my mission, because it's like, well, there goes that expense, but yeah, I would definitely incorporate the strategy that you're talking about if I needed to tighten my belt, more than it already is on a teacher salary. So Marissa is asking, do either of you have a favorite air fryer? So I will start. I never owned an air fryer before going carnivore. Then I saw all these carnivores using air fryers. The first one I bought, or I actually didn't buy it, I put it on my list, like my Amazon wish list, and my in-laws bought it for me. But it was one of those like all-in-one kind of thing. Like, it can be an oven, it can air fry, it can, I don't know, it has like 13 functions or something. And my family still uses that all the time. Like, it's used in our house every day for things, but and it, it was okay, but it was kind of hard to clean. And I used it for a few things, but yeah, when you get like chicken and things in there, it just gets hard to clean. And for that reason, I didn't like doing the meat in there. And so I second what Karen is saying. She likes her Tasty air fryer. So that was like the first company having a YouTube channel. So occasionally companies will give you things. My channel is small, so not very many have done that. But Tasty did give me an air fryer to try out. And I do have a code and a link, but I don't even remember what it is. I feel bad about that. Sorry, Tasty, but they are, it's really good. And I use it all the time. Like, I get hate for this, but that's how I do my steaks. And I think they're delicious because I can, even if I don't have one thawed out, I can put it in there frozen, and it still comes out good. I also don't have a smoker. I have a barbecue in the backyard, but I've never once used it. My husband used to use it, but it hasn't been used in probably, I don't know, 8 years, a very long time. I don't know. I have the cast iron skillet, but that just is so much more effort. Like, I don't know. I feel like I have to babysit it over there. So yeah, the Tasty air fryer. I'm happy with the way my ribeyes turn out in there. I've put chicken wings in there. I think those are the two things I've mainly done in there. And I do that kind of on repeat, especially with all this ribeye I got. So I'm probably cooking in it however often I'm eating ribeye, which right now is 3 to 4 days a week since I got all those ribeyes on sale. And so it works great. And their air fryer is non-toxic. So it's like ceramic coated and non-toxic. And if you want to, it has a temperature probe. So you can even, like, obviously if my ribeye is frozen, I can't do this, but if it's thawed, there's a temperature probe, like a little thermometer you can put in there, and you can just hit the type of steak it is, like ribeye, and then push the button. And then it kind of goes up to, you can tell, oh, rare, if you want it rare, medium rare, whatever. And it'll just, you don't have to like babysit it. It'll just beep when it's done. So super convenient. Oh, easy to clean. Just wipe it out. It's great. What about you, Brian? Air fryer?
When I first started on Carnivore, I don't even know what brand it was that I had, and it wasn't that great. And I couldn't figure out how people were saying like air fryer steak was so good because it didn't turn out good for me in
Mm,
that air fryer. But like you, Tasty reached out to me and gave me an
nice.
air fryer to do a review.
Okay.
And I got that like 2 years ago, and I still have
Mhm.
it and I still
Yep.
use it.
Yep.
In the wintertime when it's cold and I can't really go outside because I have a pellet grill that I use. But when I can't use that, I'm pretty much exclusively the air fryer for steak.
Yeah.
I'll I have a cast iron too that I'll use for like eggs and ground beef, but I'll use the steak in the air fryer. Same thing where I'll have chicken wings, so I'll have chicken wings in there. But it works great. And that was the difference. Like the previous air fryer I had, the steak did not taste good, but in that
Mm.
it really does. So I've used that Tasty air fryer for 2 years now. It's held up really well, and I've had no complaints about it.
Yeah, I've used mine for about the same amount of time. And it's lasted like all this time, still in good shape, still works, still does a good job. So tasty, that's my
Yeah.
go-to. And if I was gonna try to go look for that link and pop it in the chat, but then you stopped talking, so I stopped looking for it.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
anyway, we have been going now for over an hour. Thanks to everyone who joined us in the chat today. As always, it's been fun talking with you. Please come back again next Saturday, same time, 7 a.m. Pacific. I will have another awesome carnivore guest that I will be talking to. And Brian, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. Is there anywhere we can find you online? I know YouTube, obviously. You want to shout out your channel or any other socials?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me on. And my YouTube channel is Wicko's Carnivore, but it's at Wikivore. So you can reach me that way. Or Facebook, it's just my name, Brian Nowicki. And it's like a public account where you can follow, I guess, or send me a friend request. So those are probably the main ways that you can contact me. And yeah, thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Apparently, my tasty code is my first name, Cristie. Just don't misspell it. Cristie. If you put that in, you'll get a discount on a tasty air fryer at checkout. I found it, Brian. I found it. I need to get better at this. Anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.